Hi, guys. Welcome back to another weekly reading. This week, we're going to be taking a look at the dates of September 1st, which was yesterday. Just pointing that out. September 1st to September 7th. But as you guys know, these readings are ultimately timeless and signless. So you need not have any specific natal placements, and you don't even have to be watching this video at the time that I'm publishing it. I'm actually reading the field. And so these are energies. If it aligns with you and it stands out to you and you can see it as confirmation, then definitely hold on to it. If for whatever reason you're not vibing with it, step away and then come back and see whether the messages make sense once they've had more time to materialize, right? Because if you're watching, then clearly there's a vibrational match and there's something there for you. Sometimes you just need to maybe gain the perspective that you need to unlock or to recognize the messages, or sometimes you just need to wait a little bit longer for it to actually materialize around you so that you can be like, oh, I get that, right? But either way, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, so, well, I'm thinking, I already just felt like all this energy rush. So here's what I'm thinking. What we're going to do first is do a little clearing of the field. So take a moment. If you'd like, you can take a pause, take a couple deep breaths, but I will just head into your field and do some quick cleanup work. All right. So if you feel anything, don't worry. It's just us with love. And I've already called in our angels and stuff and our guides. So, okay. So just give me a second. Okay. So while I'm in your field, guys, I just want to let you know that I was just picking up for somebody here. Maybe you have a scalp condition or some type of um, energy. It's some type of dermatitis is what I'm getting. Uh, I'm just getting, oh, they're so sweet. I'm just getting spirit is blessing you. I just see them give me a cute little kiss on that area. I'm seeing it on the scalp, whatever, maybe on closer to the left side, left center, a little bit in the back. But of course, that's a very specific person there. But spirit is recognizing any forms of dermatitis or anything going on. And if that is for you and it's elsewhere on your body, just know that spirit has taken care of it. They've blessed it as well. And I do want to take a note and mention that um, because this is reminding me of it. Remember when we have yeah, I was going to say physical conditions, but they're saying spiritual conditions, spiritual conditions. Whenever we have, and they're also adding metaphysical conditions, they're like, we'll give you a little bit of leeway because the bridge, right? The bridge there will say metaphysical, so beyond the physical. But even me saying metaphysical is allowing some of you who still need a little bit of a mention of the physical to feel that it is that you're able to comprehend it, or your mind can latch onto it. They're saying metaphysical to kind of let you know, but we already know, if you're on this channel, that the reality of it is that it has nothing to do with your physical body, that your physical ailments and even accidents and all of that have to do with some type of origin point or root situation that is in the mental field. So right, so higher up in the field, but it manifests here. Things are placed in motion and it comes to be on account of whatever your beliefs are, and it trickles down into this physical plane and manifests as things, right? Physical things, but it could also manifest as, yeah, they're saying maladies. So also maladies could also manifest as behavioral psychology, like abnormal psychology, all sorts of stuff. So just a friendly reminder that to heal is merely to shift your perception, because it is only in that in your space of perception, in the mental field, right? It's only there that an issue can actually be an issue. The body is just a carbon copy, and the spirit levels, which is way up, those are intact and just as is. So it's really, that in between space that we're providing this healing. All right. So as I said that, whew, I just thank you. I just felt like an energy lift up. So thank you so much for the energies that have been coming in to help us to clear the space and even to issue that friendly reminder, which is always welcome on this channel. So if you follow me, you know that that is the level of the field that from which I channel and that I teach. So if you're looking for like triage, which more of a triage care, which is like, oh my God, I literally just had the accident, or I just had this life event, or just whatever. And you're in that mode of victim mode, which is understandable because you're having an experience that we would look at upon as being a victim, right? As having pain and suffering. And a lot of it is physical and whatnot. But remember, there are multiple ways to look at an event. And the same way, and I always use this example, art therapy is super healing, right? However, for somebody who literally just broke their femur, you don't even come to them about art therapy and art healing because they're not going to be receptive to it, right? So if you're on this channel and you're noticing some resistance somewhere, if you're like, well, why is this? And how can we contend with, this broken home and this and that? Always remember that the perspective from which I'm channeling and the messages coming through are coming from a higher space in the field. And that's why I said they had to make a bridge with the term metaphysical, because remember, the reality of these things is different from the way that we perceive of them here. Same way that you see two hands, but the reality is I'm a full body. And then the actual reality is I'm not a body at all, right? So always remember, whenever you're reflecting upon things and you're trying to look at and observe it from different perspectives, the first thing you have to ask is, what perspective am I using, right? You cannot get anywhere really in the field if you're viewing from a victim perspective, because you just need to, it's going to be a glass ceiling. You're going to have to dismantle more of your victim consciousness before you can view higher perspectives. And that is a great analogy, or a great analogy for that is the same way that you cannot see into the field if you use your physical eyes. You must, if you want to see deeper into the field or more of reality, you're going to have to use the metaphysical eye, right? And when we go way up into the field back to oneness, there is no I, EYE. So just letting you know, there is a level of consciousness that goes along with things. And just also as a heads up, it's interesting that we're bringing through this information, but also not very interesting. No, not interesting, but it's not very yeah, not interesting like, oh, I'm interested, go on, but interesting like, oh, I'm intrigued, but it's not very intriguing in the sense that there's a lot of third eye movement going on in right now, a lot of third eye healing and a lot of expression healing. But also I'm getting a lot of third eye movement in the sense that you cannot perceive, we're going jumping right back into the they're like, and we're back in, right? You can't perceive of all that's happening. And a great reminder that they're bringing out as an analogy is this or not even a concept, this idea of a projector, right? So remember, when we watch a film on TV, shout out to films that we love, when we're watching it, yeah, we may know that, oh yeah, it's a film. We know enough about the differences there to know that we're not in the film, we are outside of the film, we're watching things on watching people that are not in our room, and we know enough to be able to distinguish that, oh, and they're playing through this screen, and this screen is what we call a TV. Of course, remember, people with abnormal psychology, when they're in psychosis and other types of states of being, and even depersonalization in many ways, or oh my God, I'm trying to get the message out, psychosis, they can't distinguish fact from fiction, as we would perceive fact being from fiction here in this third dimensional plane. But for those of you who don't have those conditions, then you will know that, hey, I'm in my living room. Hey, I'm watching people on TV. Hey, those people are not in the same space with me. I'm watching it on a TV. The TV is something that is playing something that looks linear, but in actuality, when we go to the movies and whatnot, we're not actually seeing, like, let's go to a film, right, projector. We're not actually seeing a film playing. We're like, it's just not laid out linear. It's just a bunch of frames, right? So, and then in the grand scheme of things, there is no frame, right? There is no theater. There's no eyes to see. So I'm just bringing this example up to show you that there are different levels of the field that we're tapping into. So why that is important is for you guys to, and even myself, because listen, we're all out here teaching what we need to learn. So I have literally looked at every video that I have made for this channel over time, probably thousands of videos, right? Go check my YouTube. But anyway, and I always go back and look at it and take notes for myself because I'm channeling, right? But it's very important because when you tap into TV shows, for example, whether it's the news, whether it's you're looking at, or even reading things, or going to a play, or just whatever, listening to a conversation with friends, anything that you're going to be viewing and engaging with, you're going to have to use a higher level of consciousness with it. Yes, we observe what we see before us, right? But we take a step back and we become mindful, understanding that we're only observing something to be a certain way, and we're chewing on it to come to a conclusion that may or may not seem true to us, may or may not seem logical to us, may or may not seem appealing to us, may or may not make sense to us, may or may not feel good. It just felt right. My ex blew into town, and this time I just felt it was different, right? Okay, you get the point, right? So it may or may not appeal, to use that general term, to you based solely on your current state of consciousness. Your I am consciousness. What are you, victim or agent, right? Or some other thing that you list. And then it just trickles down through your energy field to appear a certain way. And based on your level of consciousness, you will see that playing out before you to be a certain reality. But as you shift in your consciousness, looking upon the same scene, whatever that scene is, will take on a different light, so to speak. See, right? Because when we expand our consciousness, all we're doing is letting in more light. So you see better, right? And you're better able to discern what? Light from dark, right? We only see things and experience things because of this duality that's happening, where we have this chiaroscuro. I love that word, right? The relationship between the light and the dark, so to speak. But remember, way up in the field with the creator, remember what it is? Only love is real and love is light. So we're way down here where we're seeing all sorts of stuff. So what we're going to do, they're saying, we're laying this out um, in the intellectual way, in a mental way, for you to kind of glean a few things. Think of it as like doing course or perception corrections on a certain level, and then we're going to spin back in with some energy stuff to remove what has now been loosened by talking about it, right? I do also want to say, I want to go back to when I said about a bridge, because I'm very conscious that a lot of messages are coming through very quickly. So I'm doing my best to speak quickly, but I will always go back where I feel like I didn't tell the point enough. And I'm counting my ums, right? So I can't be doing conscious mind and, self. So forgive me if the ums start coming out, right? But anyway, so earlier when we talked about there being a bridge, what I was trying to say and the example I gave you was they were saying the issue is actually in the non-physical, right? It's with your beliefs. It's at the mental level of the field. But down here, you're going to experience it as a physical situation. And the guides then change, and they said spiritual issue, but let's just say it's an issue in the non-physical. And then they changed it to say metaphysical, beyond the physical, because something about the word physical engages enough of your consciousness to be like, oh, okay, I can grasp onto that. If we tell you, oh, that ailment or that situation you went into is just a concept somewhere, you're gonna be like, no, it's not. I just got slapped in the face. that's what happened. So you're not going to be able to understand it or conceive of it, or even not conceive it, because obviously it came into your energy field, so you can conceive of it, but when you hear it you don't believe it because it doesn't make sense to you at the level of perspective that you're viewing. So when they say metaphysical, something about the energetic frequency of that word shifts you a little bit and may bring that closer to your belief. So someone saying, hey, you've got that horrible, ailment that you had to fight for your life with because of a thought you had. That's not going to make sense. And based on our victim consciousness down here and our experiences, we're going to even say such a thing sounds cruel, right? But always remember, what did we say? Always consider what perspective is being told. If you're down at lower perspectives, you're going to get details. You're going to get, they're saying structure even. You're going to, yeah, the structure, because anyway, you're going to get pain, you're going to get victim consciousness, you're going to get all of that, the story, the ego, because this is the realm of the ego. But when you view from a higher level of the field, you're no longer working in the linear and the what did I just say, structure, but now you're working in the abstract, which is the natural expression of our consciousness. It's abstract. Why do you think when you go into dream spaces, things get a little, we're like wowing when we see Salvador Dali's work. And we're like, oh my God, right? No, wait till you really get out there into different dimensions. It's like, then the human brain can't even get there, right? Let alone talk about it or think about it. So it's just more abstract and higher frequencies, and you can see more. So that's why you can see how, oh, that thought, that meaning that I made up at age 2 has led to this brain aneurysm at whatever age. But again, if somebody is going through the aneurysm, it takes a very determined person, and a lot of times they may have a heavy spiritual background in this lifetime, or many lifetimes they're still active, or they might have a personality or even a soul mission complete with a personality to complete it, right? That would make them be in the midst of it on the gurney, maybe even having the OBE, having the NDE, near death experience, all of that, and then to come back and champion and relate it to make that connection, to see what happened here, right? That's in many ways it's a higher calling, but it's something that is an option for all souls. But the question is it something that your soul wants to do, or based on your consciousness in a moment and what stories you tell yourself, is it something that you're still probable to be able to do, like to make such things if you're in the thick of it? It's hard, right? It's hard. So anyway, so anyway, the bridge. So what they're saying is that when we are here and we're making meaning, we're making conclusions, we're observing, and of course everything we observe has no reality that we can really understand at this level. So what we do is we project onto it based on what our learnings that we already have, and that's immediately flawed, because you can't know anything until you're out there and you see everything. And so when we're going through our nightmares and the stuff that we wrote in our very own charts, right? And of course, some events that some people went off script with their, anyway, that's another discussion for another time with free will and how, how that also goes. But while you're reeling down here and praying and all of this, your guides are always there. Notice how the voice shifts. Your guides are always there while you're reeling down here, right? They come into, but they see what you are, that agent, that sovereign co-creator agent being who signed up for this lifetime. I know a lot of people have this idea about certain doctrines, like, oh, I was dragged, there's a soul trap. That's not the case. There's agency. It's a free will is part of this universe. We just don't understand free will at this level. And so we keep thinking free will just means like, oh, well, I didn't wake up and choose this, Janelle. Like we have, that's me talking to myself at times, but also, the expected voice many people may have when they hear that we didn't wake up and choose this. Free will happens, but we also understand that free will is not ours alone. Free will is other people's stuff too. But down here, we don't have the faculties to judge whose free will is going on here? And then sometimes that free will that is affecting you is not even on account of your personal free will or the next guy's personal free will. It could be free will that was put in motion at a national level. So now you're dealing with your nation's karma. Could be something at a planetary level, right? So there's more to understand with these things. And that is why we hear very often, and say it with me, thou shalt not judge, thou shalt not judge, because you cannot know enough to judge. You can only make statements based on your current level of perception. And if you're in victim mode and consciousness and stuff, then it's even more limited because many people cannot see past their own pain, right? We can't even see past the road raging that we feel like. And so, what spirit does is they see what we really are, and they also acknowledge what we're experiencing because we came down to have that experience. The experiencing is the learning. That's what the soul wanted. It wanted the experience. We're here to have an experience, right? It's very interactive. Otherwise, you wouldn't have chosen Earth. Earth School is a place where you come to have embodied experiences. And so, really, there's no way out but through. Trust me, I've looked. I'm joking. The guides are always like, get back in your body. That's I'm pulling my toes. Let me out of here. I'm just kidding. But anyway, right? But am I? Anyway, long story short. So when you're down here having these experiences, your team will join you in what you believe to be true in that moment. And they're highly, highly trained to assist you no matter who you are and what you're doing, devil or angel, as far as we are concerned on this planet, right? They're helping you to shift your mindset, to learn, to grow, right? But the growth is something you must do for yourself, right? But they're assisting you. But they don't, while they're down here hearing you and being compassionate with you and giving you resources, sending people, like it is such a network, you guys have no idea. Your mind would be blown apart by how much of a network is going on behind the scenes. Like it's redonkulous. I can't even say ridiculous. It's redonkulous. And then I have to shorten and say it's just redonks because it's ridiculously like, how are you guys so organized over there? And we're in chaos, but right, there is order to the chaos. And so they're assisting us on this plan that everybody made, right? And but they not for 1 minute, not for 1 minute do they believe that what we believe is going on is reality. It's not reality. Because then what would they be doing here? They'd be the blind leading the blind. And so the bridge that I was referring to is they understand. And so they join us here, just like a friend, if we're talking about what's going on in our relationships, at our jobs and all of this, and we're talking, yeah, let's talk about it, right? But then the growth point, because part of it is getting the story out, getting the emotions out. So talking and expressing, which is something I'm still working through, a lot of us are still working through these things, but talking and expressing in whatever way that is, art, whatever, boxing, whatever it is, right? Is a way to tell the story. And once you tell the story, you've now created a clearing for you to look at it from new perspectives, right? So this is why it's always important for us to do our best to reflect upon things. And sometimes we've been reflecting on certain traumas and certain things for multiple lifetimes, really trying to make headway with things. And sometimes that lifetime is a drop in a bucket, meaning nothing is wasted, but the breakthrough isn't necessarily happening in that lifetime. But then in some lifetimes, you have that breakthrough. And by the time you have that breakthrough, sometimes it's like, oh, I just quit smoking the next day. I woke up from a dream and said, I don't want to do this anymore. You hear those stories all the time. But it's like, wow, when we look into those people's energy fields and we look into their karmic adjustments and all sorts of stuff, their Akashic records and such, we see they've been putting in the work. And a lot of times if remember Cat's Cradle, that first of all, that just sounds like a horror movie, Cat's Cradle. I don't know why that title, it was that an actual horror movie title, but anyway, there's some, that game Cat's Cradle with the string, and then you're like, oh, and then your friend goes, and then you go like this, and you're without the sounds when you're playing that game. Now imagine like a whole Cat's Cradle with all sorts of strings, karmic ties, connections, agreements, right? Now these things just have to be worked out. And sometimes it takes multiple lifetimes. It often takes multiple lifetimes because, you know, like it takes two to tango. And so they're saying that's all we're going to say about the karmic loop. They're saying the karmic stuff. Interesting that they said loop. That word, that choice of word, for example, is for somebody because they could have used any word to say it, but they said karmic loop. All right, so we're going to leave it on that. Anyway, what is this card? What do you wait? Do you want to come out? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Why is it? It's like looking at me, not looking at me like, hey, you, but it's doing a thing. So anyway, let's go in and do some clearing on the earth plane. There's oh yeah, okay. So hold on. Wow, look at my hands. They're doing something. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and okay. I'm hearing basal ganglia. Like I feel like I should know where that is, but they're working in the basal ganglia. And suddenly I just felt like the lights in somebody's place turned off and then on. It doesn't have to be physical, but I'm seeing it happen right off and on. And they're so funny because I was like, did you just replace something in the field? And they're like, they laugh and they're like, sometimes it's that quick, sometimes it's not. So maybe the answer is no, but they did something there. Um, and so what we're going to do, okay, yeah. So I'll go quiet for a couple of minutes. Um, uh, they're asking, so if you want to participate, well, we're in the field, but if you want to feel a little bit, um, get quiet and we're running electricity currents through the energetic anatomy, through the field. Thanks. And they're saying that imagine the energies coming in through the top of your well, they're saying mind, but because remember, it's only in the mind, but we're experiencing it. Some of us experience it as sensations in the body or even the energetic anatomy, but they're just working in the mind space, right? But just imagine the energies coming in, energetics coming in. Thank you. The energetics, that's different from energies, okay? And it's coming in, and as it courses down throughout your body, go ahead and see if you can tune into any parts that are weak, like in your body, and that need support, because they will not, you'll be able to feel it like, oh, it just passed through, like, for example, my pelvis, and it got really weak there, the signal. So that will give you some insight. Some of you have been asking for help with this. That will give you some insight into what parts of your field are undercharged, and that could be due to blockages, right? Blockages in the field, whether it's in your meridians or the natal structures, right? Or just any other parts that are going on. And of course, as we remember, these are all in the mind. But because we are here on earth and we still have a belief in the body, they are speaking to us in terms of the body, and they'll even pinpoint places in the body, but actually it's being done in the field. Oh, and ooh, and what they're targeting are misperceptions. And in fact, I just said, oh, because I felt like they were getting me to explain this to some of you. but also trying to distract us so that they can go in and make some changes to the belief system. So that's, I just was like, oh, I saw that. All right. So anyway, I'll get a little bit more quiet. They're saying 3 more minutes, and they're saying 3 more times they're going to, and they're going to shoot this energy through us. Okay. Okay, we're gonna do one more big one. So if you want to try again and see if you can perceive, just see this as a big ball of, and they're going to do it when I'm done talking, so you can be quiet and receive, but and feel big ball of energy. Okay, you do it now. Okay. All right. Thank you so much to our technicians, our medical professionals in the field. They're just so great at what they do. Um, I just checking the time here. Um, one of the things that uh, one of the things that they were saying, because there are certain parts in my body where I know need to have work. I was at help, help, that need to have work done. And I already understand that they correspond with my beliefs and whatnot. Thank you. That was a nice reminder to do this card. And so I've made that connection. But there's always something to discover, right? There are always things that are affecting us that we don't know. Like I told you, it's just a lot more than we realize, but we definitely do need to have some type of willingness to at least receive healing, to at least see more of ourselves. But one of the things that I noticed is while they were running the currents through, and I heard them say, so this one's going to hurt just a little. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I know my thought was like, oh, I hope I don't sprain my ankle or something later. But they're like, no, it's not for you. And when they say hurt, again, we don't attach to it because obviously that's not going to be what we're thinking, like, oh, this one's going to hurt. I'm going to fall off a cliff. It was just my conscious mind receiving it and having that interpretation of it. But I can't really always be 100% about what they were intending to communicate, right? Because certain frequencies are a little bit higher than we can. Yeah. So anyway, so that's a translation. And I said, and they were like, oh, that's not for you. And I said, oh, phew. And then I also said, oh, sorry for whoever that's for. And but it's not for you guys. Don't worry. It's for for me in my field. And remember, in my field, there are other things there because we have connections with people. And I just saw them like detaching some people's hands from me, for example, like a little zap, right? Like, and not, remember, it's this is spirit, so it's not going to be the way we see it as some attack and this and that. It's not that at all. So I'm just not going to try and explain, like translate that, because it's going to be a little bit hard. But anyway, but they're saying it was a releasing. And then even as I'm saying this, the word release that they're saying, I would have to go in and uh, explain that to people, because we all have an idea of what release means, but because you can't see into other people's brains, you don't know, but you're having a different idea of release based on your experiences than this guy's having, right? So the spirit is saying that's why a lot of these things are experiential. They're like experiential, and that makes sense. There are certain concepts and certain states of being that cannot be taught. We have to experience it, right? So anyway, so thank you so much, you guys, for helping in this field. And as they're saying that, as I'm saying that, or they're saying, and who's saying that, I'm perceiving of water, like if we were just in that a glass dome of water, like all the water, but not a glass dome, a water ball, cute water ball, and it's all just kind of like you know pooling away from our feet. So we were in this container, right, for healing. And this is a beautiful thing. Now, interestingly, summer and winter, well, what is that? Let's see what's coming up for us in the week to come. So as I was saying that, I'm seeing here that there's some type of shift that has happened. So we see this fated meeting here. And this week, now this may be for some of you who are super sensitive. I know some of you are so sensitive that you can actually pick up on different timelines and different realities shifting and going around you, right? And if you're not able to, that's fine, right? We're not, it's not the purpose we're here. The purpose, unless your mission has to do with that, then definitely you want to make sure you can do that. But if, you know, just focus on your day to day. But I'll just tell you that it's hanging around. And so I'm seeing that for those of you who may be a little bit sensitive to that, you may actually see something that had been coming in, like now it's repelled. It's like you can't even touch the card anymore. Let's see how, like, how would that go? I'm going to move this, move the expectations. Got it. Mhm. Let me see. Yeah, it's like now it doesn't even, now I can't even check the routing, because why? Because I moved this. Remember I said move the expectations? So that they're showing that they're sharing, they're saying that is a they're so funny. They're like, we wouldn't use that low tech way to show it. Like I was just doing it. So they're like, we're sharing, right? My bad. They're sharing. I'm showing, but they're so funny. But they're showing, or we're collectively showing you that there's more to why things happen in our life. So when we remove, in this case, the cause, expectations, you can go ahead and put programming, your earthly learning, unresolved trauma that you're not looking at to kind of work through. You have to work through these things, right? When you clear those things, you're no longer a point of attraction for these things. And that makes sense now that we see here, this card is all nice and clear and idyllic, right? So when we see things on the horizon, stuff that we're going through, it's because we are an attractive force to it. Now, we may struggle to understand that because it's outside of the realm, I think, in many ways, of what we're capable of understanding, because we're so embodied. We feel the pain, right? But there are higher aspects of us that are not embodied, right? They're at a higher level of field. It's you at a higher level of consciousness. So you are not strapped with the physical pain. And on top of that, you have access to a higher perspective and can give yourself the answers that you need. And so that's why when we're on this earthly plane, I always say it's a level of mastery when you can remember what you are. If you keep seeing, look, they're like, let's install this here as our reminder. If you keep seeing yourself as a body and you identify with this lesser version of yourself here, and this is not a diminishing, it's just literally letting you know that when the more materially focused you are, super linear, right, and things like that, then, and very hard-headed about certain beliefs, this is rigidity. And because you have those beliefs, look at how your own consciousness is solidifying things. That's why sometimes we have to literally crack the energy around your cranial just to let energy in because it's like loosen up, become open-minded, right? And that's why if you're boundaryless and you're like, freewheeling, like that's just equally as dangerous as well, because now you're just letting everything in. So the point is being able to understand what you are. You are spirit, right? And all the way down, you're physically focused here, so focused that you actually perceive of yourself as a body. But remember, as Homie said it in the Matrix, there is no spoon, right? Because at the highest level of being, there's no differentiation. There's no I, you, he, we, they, all that stuff. That's down here. And boy, is it here, right? And so when you understand, as we covered in the July 2025 reading, when you understand the laws of the universe, right, then you understand how you can get into alignment with what you really are. In other words, identify with your higher self and understand what those entitlements are. What you actually end up doing is you start shifting the energies around you. And your job down here on this planet, as you're having this experience, is to determine by your choices whether, regardless of what comes into your field, what you experience, whether you want to respond in alignment with your higher self, in alignment with love, in alignment with, your creator, learning and processing that, or you want to identify with the egoic self, which is not what you are. So you're out of alignment when you're in that way. And as we said, I think it was in the last session reading that we had together, when you are out of alignment with yourself, you're literally in the I am not category. So that is literally self-denying. That is cutting yourself off from the free flow of energy that you need. And that's why we continue to clear our misperceptions and work on our shadows. It's just core beliefs. It's just works on core beliefs. And yes, it takes time, but it's glorious work and it's sacred work. And that's why you're here. You're here to have experiences, and those experiences do what? They just reflect back to you the beliefs that you're holding. But if you keep buying into those experiences and making it mean that I am not about you, victim consciousness and onward, that's not you. That's a meaning that you made because of an experience you had. These are big experiences. And a lot of these experiences you must have because it's part of your karmic contract. Remember? Right? Remember? You remember that time? No, like, no, we don't remember. And also down here, all bets are off. So if somebody's going rogue and creating new karma, you can also get caught up in that. That's why we say, guard your consciousness. How do you do that? No matter what's going on this planet, it always goes back to you getting into the space where you connect with what you are. And just by cultivating a practice, a daily practice of bringing yourself mindfully back to your reality, like, oh, shoot, I just got slapped in the face. Ouch. Take whatever time you need to take, tell the story, blah, 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 all that. But then let me say that in that, I made it mean that I was this, that, and that person was this, that, and that. But I understand I'm just feeling away, as we say. I understand that I'm making this mean something because my world says it means this. I feel it means this. It makes sense. But I know that the reality of what I am is I am, right? I am source. I am the creator. I am, well, not the creator, you're the created, but I am one with the creator, right? And when you move with that and you keep bringing yourself back to that consciousness, no matter what you experience, what you're doing is you're conditioning the field and you're actively shifting your reality. And that's what your soul came down here to do. It didn't come down here to get trapped in false mentality. And that's how you keep having to come back and do karmic stuff because you're, struggling. We all are, right? But that's how you make the shift. You are mindfully proactive, but no matter what you experience on this planet, go through the motions of healing it, but always bring yourself back. Even if you're like, well, I don't know what Jay's talking about. I don't know how I'm this, beloved son or daughter of, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But here it is, and I'm experiencing that. But when you're ready, you bring yourself back to that and you do your best. It could be like me. I'm always like, dude, I don't get it. I don't understand it, God, because ouch and ouch and ouch. But you know what? I'm here. We out here. I'm multidimensional. I can still, do my thing. And some days I won't believe you, and then other days I'm just still going to keep it in my back pocket. And that's all you can do. Just keep working on it, right? So um, this week, I feel it would be a great idea to cultivate a little bit, maybe even just with one event each day. It could be a tiny thing. Someone hands you a pencil and you're like, why did they hand it to me like that? Are they trying to beat me up? Like, why they have so much attitude on it, right? Or somebody doesn't text you back in, when you wanted them to. Stop and think. Be mindful. Feel the pain. Look at the story that you're making it mean. Give yourself the pause. Be proactive about making a different or calling in your higher self, your higher perspective, and then coming to a different conclusion. Well, it could also be that, boom, right? And then with that idea, then make a response in the world, then take the action. So when you're proactive in that way, keeping your true self concept, choosing to affirm that self concept outside, no matter what you see, speaking only in alignment with that self concept, giving yourself the time that you need to experience that, taking action in alignment with that. Yeah, we all want to backhand that person, but you know what? I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to do my best today. And then understand that you need these experiences, and you need to process it, because that's just all part of the polarity and the experiment and the experience here. And that's how you flip it. And then finally, you work through this idea of understanding that everything is transformation, right? Nothing dies, it's just transformed. So do your best to work through that. This week, you might have a couple opportunities because to be triggered, because you do know that we have a lunar eclipse. I think it's lunar, yeah, eclipse coming up. And I don't know about you guys, but anytime eclipses come, whew, they knock me out sometimes. So if you don't see me, if when you guys don't see me here on a Monday and you see me here on a Tuesday, it's usually because I'm alchemizing something. So so thank you so much for your patience, I guess, assuming anyone's looking for it, right? For the readings. Anyway, I'm going to pause here. And if you'd like to work more closely with me, do whatever it is that you need to do, exactly where to find me on Etsy. All right. Or you can shoot me a DM to ask, all right, about where to find me, I guess. No. God bless you guys. Bye. Drink lots of water.